for today's demo, we have Mr. Hicks, Freddie. We've been kind of talking about his demo for a while. Tried to talk him into doing his chucks, but he has like 75 of them, and it's just too much weight to carry in, you know. So his idea for this demo is limited tools, limited chucks, what you can do with those, and kind of how easy it is to make a box with just a couple things, like a screw and a chuck.
I got a couple chucks. Yeah, I'm gonna cheat a little. Okay, I'm Freddie. So I'm here. This is what I'm gonna try to make, a little box like this. Okay, so I've got a couple of blanks, and here they are. So anyway, the first thing I want to talk about is this screw. This is a Vic Mark screw. Okay, it's a 3-in-1. And the thing about a screw gets its strength from, when you put a piece of wood on there, from the diameter that it's mating up on and the length of the screw. Okay, that is a very good screw. I got a couple of screws right here I'm going to pass around. This is a Vic Mark screw. This comes with a Vic Mark chuck, and this is a Nova screw. And you can see the difference in those. Okay, so for this particular project, I'm going to use the medium-sized face on this Vic Mark chuck. All right, and it'll give me enough force, holding force, to hold that. So I'll put this, and this thing has 3 different sizes. You can put a piece of wood on here. I think the rating is 12 inches by 6 on that screw. Not to be confused, if you've got a big piece of wood, of course the best way to mount it is with a face plate. But a screw is a lot faster, and it mounts up real good like that. Now there's a lot of screw there. I don't need all that screw. I'm going to put a spacer on it, just like that. So that's plenty of screw to hold this piece of wood I'm going to use. It's a piece of maple. I'm going to mount it up on there, just like this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to torque that up on there, and that's going to be on there. Now my plan here is, when I get done with this box and I pull it off the chuck, it's going to be done. I'm not going to have to jam chuck it or put it on a coal jar or anything like that. It should be finished. Okay, so I'm going to turn it. I'm going to turn it out. And I guess we should talk a little bit about safety, right?
Sure.
Face shields and goggles or whatever. So I'm going to turn this off of here. I'm going to turn this around. I've got that rest a little bit high. 1 inch square inch scraper. It's been radiused a little bit when I ground it. So everybody knows when you use a scraper that you have to keep that at an acute angle to the wood. You have to keep it at less than 90. If you get that as an obtuse angle on there, it'll catch it. So as long as you keep it tilted down, it won't catch. Normally I would measure this out and make sure I had enough room there to laser my name on it, because I'm going to make a place to laser my name. That's what I'm going to do here. And I also want to make sure that the bottom of this is concave, so it doesn't rock when it sets on something. And I'm going to clean this edge up right here just a little bit. Just like that. Now, normally right at this point, I'm not going to do it today, I would sand that. But I don't want to sand it in here, right? So I'm going to check it and make sure it's, what'd you say, concave? Okay, so now I need to work on the side of this a little bit. I don't want to get the diameter here any less than it is, because I'm going to grip this in a groove right here on the side is the way I'm going to get a hold of it. And it's got a little flat spot right there, so I'm going to shear it. I'm going to shear scrape it a little bit to get some of the tear out and stuff out of it. And in a box that, like those boxes I made, the diameter of the top needs to be a little bit less than the bottom for it to look right. So if I drop this down, drop the handle down, I can shear that a little bit like that. Now what I'm doing here is I'm trying to get rid of any torn grain or anything that's in there and smooth that up. So now I'm gonna cut a groove. I'm gonna cut the groove in here to get a hold of it with. And I'm gonna try to make that groove about 1/8 of an inch up from the bottom. And it's gonna serve two purposes for me. And that is, it's gonna tell me how thick I've got the bottom. And it's also gonna make a place for me to chuck it. I didn't do that right. So I'm gonna cut a little groove right there, and I've got a little point tool somewhere in here. So I'm gonna cut that groove with.
Freddie, is that a 3-point tool?
It's the one you give me.
Yeah.
Slaps it. Okay, 3-point.
Pyramid tool.
Yeah. If you've got one of the Thompson's travel kits that has that round rod in it,
Is that what you want to see?
you can make one of those out of that round rod.
You can cut that groove with the skew or anything you want, and it'll cut a groove. I'll use that because it cuts a real nice small one. I'm going to burn that groove now. I'm going to use a piece of laminate to do it. And burning that groove will make that groove look like a decoration, and it'll also increase the strength of it.
Probably not for me, everything I do falls apart.
Okay. So there, and you know, normally, like I say on this, I would go ahead and sand all that and finish it up. But I'm gonna call that good on the outside for now.
Freddie, when and what type of projects do you not want to screw around?
Well,
Intended not using the screw?
you wouldn't want to use this type of particular screw on end grain. Okay, this is a face grain screw. And also, if you're going to, now they make end grain screws that can screw into end grain, but that's not it. And the hole I drilled is a 7.5 millimeter. I think those holes for those Nova chucks are 5/16 or something like that. And a screw's a great way to do things. You wouldn't want to use that on a great big piece of wood. You'd want to use a face plate, something like that.
Okay, if you brought an ornament for the exchange, pick a piece of paper out of the hat and pass it around.
Christopher, I want you to draw, you seem to have the lucky hand. You got the lucky numbers today.
I believe Mom did,
This chuck I'm going to use is a Titan chuck. This is a Titan 3. And you could use
That's a joke.
you can use any chuck you want on there as long to do this. I'm trying to get one that has jaws. Now that'll hold a great big piece of wood, that chuck will. But I'm trying to get some jaws that'll grip that groove without marring it. So I can pull that off there, and it's pretty much done when I pull it off of there. And it uses just a regular Nova chuck key.
How many chucks do you have?
17.
How many chucks will
I'll tell you what, a person needs 2 chucks. You need 2. That's what you need. Now, I've got a lot of them, I've been turning for years, so I've got a lot of them. But you don't need that many chucks. Okay, now that's got a hold on that, that wasn't a very big groove in there, it was a little groove. And, I guarantee you can't pull it out of there. So now, I'm gonna drill a hole in the middle of this. It has that screw hole, but I'm gonna go ahead and drill a depth hole in it. So I know that I want the bottom to be at the top of that chuck right there, because that's where that groove is. I made it 1/8 of an inch in from the bottom. So I'm gonna drill that hole. I'm gonna drill it with a spindle gouge.
Now, I'm sorry, Freddie, can you say why you're doing that again?
Well, I didn't say, but I'm going, but I'm glad you asked. Okay, I'm gonna drill that hole in there. First of all, the center of any piece of wood that you're turning is going a whole lot slower than the outside. It's going way slower, so I'm just gonna get rid of that. And also, it's gonna let me know where all my other cuts are gonna go to. Where all my cuts are going to the bottom of that hole. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. If I can find my gouge here. It's in here somewhere.
Will that lathe turn that chuck?
What's that?
I think that the weight is the inertia will turn.
This is a 1/2 inch gouge. It's not, it's a M42. I think you got one of these. It's not a Carter and Sons or nothing great. But M42, it's a good, it's for the price. I don't think you can beat them myself, but. I forgot to mark that, so I know how far it's sticking in there. I did forget to say, in this box, the grain is running across this, and that makes a difference when you're making boxes. If you're making a smaller box of some type, and it's a long grain box, those boxes don't warp. They don't warp like this will. This box will move. So saying that, knowing that this box is going to move a little bit, I don't want to make a tight lid on it. I want to make that lid a little bit loose. So as you know, the seasons change. The first time a cold front or something comes in, it's gonna move. I promise you. I don't like the way that's in the chuck.
Warp just slightly tight.
Now, when you're putting the hole in, you're not using a drill bit to go to the depth?
You can use a drill bit, and you know, a lot of times I do. But the problem with the drill bit is they like to spin in your hand if you don't, if you don't have a big enough handle on it or something, they'll spin in your hand. You see, that's running true. So this, I've got a pretty good handle on it. I got sidetracked. So I know that needs to go down to that. Okay? And I want to lay this on its side, and I want to mark it where I can see it. Okay? I know I need to go in that deep.
Freddie, you're not on the tool rest, correct?
I'm what?
You're not on the tool rest.
I'm not on the tool rest, no, I'm not. I come up off that tool, I keep it on the tool rest till I get it in the hole and get it where I want it, then I come up off that tool rest and push it on in there. Just like that. I just never do, I don't know.
It'll self-center.
It'll self-center. And that's the way you drill a hole with the gouge, just like that. Now I'm gonna hollow that out. Now when you're cutting and hollowing on the inside of something like that, you want to stay at center or above. Do not get below center. You'll get a catch if you do. Now I have a big 3-horse lathe at home, so I can take a cut like that and then just cut it. But, you know, I gotta be a little more gentle here. Alright, I'm getting down to the bottom of the hole right here. So now I'm going to start cutting that out of there with the scraper. I use this scraper. It's just an M2 scraper. I've had it for many years. And it's the same thing. Stay above center and keep the tool at an acute angle.
That just means pointing downhill, right?
Downhill, less than 90 degrees. Maybe raise this up a little bit. Now it started vibrating there because I was taking too big a cut on it, which wasn't that big compared to this, but I just moved over and started taking less of a cut so it quit vibrating. That starts vibrating like that when I get a bunch of that tool into it. Okay, so what I really need to do is move to a smaller tool, and I'm going to move to this tool so I don't get all that into it. That's screaming like that because that bottom's getting thin. Remember, I only made it 1/8 of an inch thick, or that's my target. And it's down there a pretty good ways right now. I'm trying to get that out of the middle.
Freddie, with the propensity for it to move, any reason not to make it like 1/4 of an inch?
Well, you could, and the deal, the situation you have here, I'm in a room full of wood turners. Okay, so wood turners don't like thick wood. You know, they don't. And of course, a little bit thicker on the bottom adds a little weight to it and helps it from moving around so much. But a thin bottom will not move as much. It doesn't have as much wood there. But it's still so I'm going to check and see how thick it is. Or, you know. And I'm using this thing. And y'all can see I still got that much to go till I get to my target.
No, we can't see.
Well,
About 3/16. So.
yeah, it's a little bit.
There you go.
And I realize we're kind of in a hurry here, so. And when I'm looking down in this, I can't see that cut. I'm looking over here 3 or 4 o'clock to see what's happening.
That way you don't have to stand there.
Okay, let's see what that looks like. I'm gonna check it again. That's pretty close. It's closer in the center than it is on the edge. So I'll take care of that in just a second. And right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean this side up right here because it tears it pretty good when you're cutting that with a square inch scraper. So I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna cut this out with a gouge right here. Now, you know, just like Ron was talking about getting escaped, I'm gonna cut backwards into this just a little bit right here on the edge to make a ledge in there for me to put my gouge on, so it doesn't skate across that lip right there. Okay, the hardest part of making one of these for me is getting that corner down in there square. That's real hard because like I was showing you with my scrapers, they're all radiused on the end. So they're not gonna reach right in there and get that. So what I usually do there is, I use a skew chisel. And a skew chisel is really a negative rake scraper. I mean, you can use it for that. So I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna clean that corner up. Just like that. I keep saying I'm gonna buy me another scraper and grind it for that tool, but this seems to work just fine. Okay, now what I'm gonna do here, which sometimes I do this and sometimes I don't, because I'm planning on taking this home and finishing it out, I'm gonna cut a little groove in here so I can reach in there and expand into that with a chuck and turn it around and get a hold of it and sand the whole outside of it and finish it. And it doesn't have to be very far, and you know, it's like let me show you. On a chuck like this is a set of step jaws, a Nova, but it doesn't matter, it could be anything. That dovetail is not very far down there. So I don't want to cut that groove way back up in there. And a couple of things you can do there. You can cut that groove and burn it with a piece of Formica or laminate or whatever. And if you want to leave them in there, you can cut two of them and make it look like a decoration or something. So I'm just going to go in there and cut this little groove. It don't have to be very much. And I think, I don't know this for a fact, but I think with cross grain wood you can get away with that expansion a lot easier than you can with long grain.
Is that laminate you're using just a sample from?
You just get them off the shelf. That's all they are. Okay, some of this, like these fuzzies and stuff here, I'd clean all that up if I was sanding it. It would just sand right out. So now I've got to make the lid. That was in on time there.
Had about 40 minutes, 35.
I don't know what it is, my truck key.
Right there on your, is that it, right there on your table?
No, that's not it. That doesn't work.
Maybe.
Okay, so I've got a couple of chuck marks, a little bit right there. But when I chuck that like that, I can take that out of there. So let me measure this right quick and then I'll pass it around. So,
You wanna tell them about the trick too on the diameter if you get it just right?
yeah, if you get that just right, which I missed it just a little bit, I was afraid of making it too little. But if you get that just right, it will not leave any marks in there. You can do that. And you can see how good a hold that was with just that groove. I mean, I hollowed that out and everything with just that groove on there. So anyway, I want to measure the inside of this. If you don't have a pair of these are the handiest thing you can buy. And they sell them not anywhere near that good, but they sell some at Harbor Freight and they're not very high at all.
And those are just dividers, right?
These are just dividers. That's all. And you can buy a set that has the caliper too. I've got it in, right? Anyway, I've got a set of calipers here too somewhere. So what I'm going to do now, you can pass that around, Robert. and look at it. I'm going to, take this chuck off. Don't let me steal that, Jim. I don't think I need to do that.
You gonna pass around the chuck? Just kidding.
You got it, Dolly.
Okay, this, I bought at SWAT. I got it from Branches to Bowles. And it's a spanner, I think's what you call it. But it'll fit about any chuck. You just put it on there and pop it off of there like that. And that is the handiest tool ever.
Can you get that at Home Depot or something?
Well, I don't know about that.
What's it
You
called?
can buy those down at MB McKee. You know where that is?
Yeah.
It's over off I-27.
And what's it called?
I think it's called a spanner, but I'm not sure. You wanna see that, Chuck?
Just,
Okay, so what I'm gonna put on there now is I'm gonna put this SC2 record chuck. This is just a little small chuck, and I'm gonna put it on there because I'm gonna put this lid. I drilled this hole with an 1 9/16 Forstner bit. Okay, and it fits right on that, just like that. And I'm gonna, and it's not very deep. You don't have to make that very deep. That's a dovetail. And so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna expand into that. And hold that on there. Now this is gonna be the inside of that. And this will be the top. So mainly what I'm trying to do here is turn this around. And just like I did that other piece, I'm gonna turn it around and I'm gonna cut a groove in it so I can rechuck it when I get home and sand it up. Not supposed to do that. I'm going to face the top of this off, just like this. I'm probably going to come back on that here in a minute, and so I don't have it round yet. I need to get it round. See what we got here. Oh, that looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to try to do here is cut that groove again on the outside of here so I can turn that around and work this side. And I want to reduce the top of this, but I need to remember that I've got that mortise inside there. So I don't want to, in other words, I don't want to just cut the groove in the middle. I want to cut it toward this side a little bit. So, and you'll see why here in a minute. Now, when I get done with this and I get it home, if I want to remove that, I can. And I'll show you here in a second. Okay, so now what I need to do is take that off of there and put that other chuck back on there. Those are handy chucks if you don't have one.
They are.
I don't know what I did with my chuck key. I'm sure it's here somewhere.
Is it in your smock in the back?
What's that?
Is it in your smock?
Might have been.
Up here in the front. The key,
Where's that?
front of the, did you put the key to it? That pile right there?
I don't know. I'll find it when I get home. Over there.
You got too many pockets.
I got too much junk in there is what I got. So I'm gonna put this back on here just for a minute. Okay. And I'm gonna see if I can grip that groove right there. Gripping that groove is gonna allow me, I need to turn it around. It's gonna allow me to work this side of it.
Depending on what you want to store in those, you could also use those grooves for like an O-ring. Need a seal?
Yeah, kinda like a suction fit, kinda, yeah.
I know I'm talking to people with such tolerances, including Jim Burke, that you don't need that. But for those of us that may
That's
not
mortal,
get it that close.
Mortal.
Yeah, when you get the size wrong, that works.
Yeah.
Of course, from there. It didn't rain.
So now, the first thing I'm gonna do is go in here and clean this side up.
That's perfect. You get down from the wife. So do we see it? I'm gonna bring this.
Too high still. This is why I really don't like using Forstner bits, is that divot it leaves in there. But in some situations, you kind of have to.
Can you grind it off a Forstner bit and expect it to cut true?
Do what now?
Can you grind that tip off a Forstner bit and ask it to cut true?
Boy, I've wanted to, but I don't.
If you buy something.
You know, I think you might be able to if you're using a drill press, but if you're using it in a hand drill, no.
You can make, Jim Burke,
Cut 'em.
you can make a tip a little bit shorter.
Okay, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna set the diameter for the register to register the lid into that box. And so I'm gonna start right here with this. When you do this, and a lot of y'all know this already, do not touch that far side into that wood. It'll kick it back at you. Only the near side. But you're trying to line that side up to that groove that you're cutting. So, you know, I try to get this right here in the center of that. So I know, you know, just like that, okay? So now I know I need to come in and I need to cut that out a little bit so it'll register on that box. And I'm gonna do that with the spindle gouge.
You do it side to side rather than taking half of it from the center?
You can do it that way. You can do half of it in the center. But here's the deal. Okay, when you're setting that gauge to a chuck, it's hard to set that in the center,
Okay.
right? I kind of cut that groove a little too close there. Let me check that out later. Thank you. So now I'm just trying to fit this, and that's pretty good right there. You know, for normally I try to make that a little big where I got to go 2 or 3 times at it, but that will let it move a little bit. And okay, so now what I want to do is I want to come in here. I want to make an expansion socket for this chuck inside this so I can take this off and turn it around. First I'm going to do is cut that a little bit deeper right there. Now I'm kind of cutting this register, this flange on top, a little bit of an angle, a little bit in, so it'll set down on that box and not leave a gap in there. Okay, let me see. These, this is a good time to talk about chucks. Okay, chuck, this is a record power chuck. Okay, and that's a set of Nova jaws. I'm not telling you it's kosher to do that, but I do it all the time. Okay, so this is what I was going to tell you. These types of chucks, these record chucks, the newer Nova chucks, and the Rikon chucks and the Patriot chucks, they are all righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Okay, so if what I mean by that is if I turn this to the right, it's going to tighten that down. Okay, so that matters because the older Nova chucks were backwards to that. And the numbers on the older Nova chucks are backwards. Where this one goes in counterclockwise, the older ones, the jaw numbers went clockwise. So if you've got an old set of Nova jaws and you put it on a new chuck, you need to swap the number 2 and the number 4. Or number 2 and number 3. You need to swap those 2 jaws so it'll close upright. Because they're made like that. And they have a little bit of a cut in there like that. When they make that round like that, they turn it out. And then they saw them in 2. And they number them. But you need to swap those 2 jaws on the newer chucks for them to butt upright. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do the same thing I did a while ago. I'm going to mark this and so I'm going to marking it right across these screw holes right here. So I make sure, and this is not, I'll tell you right now, this is not as critical as like that one, because I'm going to expand that a little bit. But the closer I get this recess to the diameter of that chuck, the stronger it's going to be. The more hole it'll be, and the less depth I have to make that. Okay, now I'll tell you something else here. When you make an expansion like that, you need to make that expansion down into that lid. You know, I don't have that register very thick, and I want to make that expansion on down in there, so when I expand into it, it's expanding against the whole wood there, not just the very little bit. Okay, so if I make it pretty deep, not pretty deep, I'm talking about 1/8 of an inch is pretty deep, because I showed you the dovetail on there is not very far. Okay, so I'm gonna make that expansion. I'm just gonna come in here. And I'm gonna cut it. Just like that. I'm gonna use a square inch scraper right here. What did I say? Keep it at an acute angle. Now, anytime you're cutting on the inside of a circle like that, you have to be above center. If you're below center, it'll push the tool off. The wood coming around will push the tool off. So if you're above center, you can cut that out. What I'm going to do is clean this up right here.
Okay, Freddie, that technique you're using where you're angling the,
Where I'm shear scraping,
okay, that's what I wanted to.
that's what I'm doing is shear scraping. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go in there on that groove I just made, and I'm going to cut a angle, a dovetail, or a reverse dovetail on that so I can expand up into it. Remember, I have to be above center. Let me see what that looks like. I need to clean that up a little bit more in there. Well, I'll just clean it up with this scraper. Let me tell you something about wood turning in general. Wood turning is a game of leverage. Okay, where this would be the lever, whatever tool you have. This will be your fulcrum, and this is the work. If you get that work on the other side of that fulcrum, like on the top of that tool, it will snap it over. Okay, you have to keep that on the lower part of that tool to keep it from catching. You know, I'm trying to hurry here, fellas. I know y'all's hungry.
We're hungrier for knowledge, Freddie.
I don't know about you, but I'm hungry.
You're hungry. Yeah, you look famished.
You take your time.
Something Freddie told me the other day while I was sanding forever. If you don't like sanding so much, learn to turn better.
BYU 7, Texas Tech 0.
Uh-oh.
We gotta get there first.
Yeah, well.
If you have hardwood and super sharp tools, you never have to sand. But
Are you good?
I was working on a piece of
And Freddie, if you don't like that center divot, can always do Jim Bob's technique with the medallion. Make it artistic.
Well, I've done that. Cut that out of there. Okay, let me get this off of here. Tool here will use.
You know, it also reminds me for those under sink tools that have a similar flip back.
I made that expansion a little bit big, but it'll work. Okay, see, that's on there good now. And I can cut this, the other side of it now. Now, recently I've been trying to make these lids kind of flat so I can use that laser pecker on them. Okay, and I'll tell you something about that laser pecker. It's a laser burner that I burnt the stuff on those with. That focal length on that laser is 200 millimeters. So I sent, personally, I sent Laser Pecker an email and I asked them how much can I vary from that to still keep that image sharp when it burns it. And they sent me back an email and they told me from 190 to 200, 10 millimeters. That's about 3/8 of an inch. So you can make the top of something domed a little bit, 3/8 of an inch or whatever, and still burn that in there and it should look fine. What I'm doing right now is I'm just reducing the weight. I'm making that a little bit narrower. That's a piece of 3/4 inch stock, just like you buy at the lumber yard or whatever. And that other piece I used was 2-inch, piece of 2-inch maple. And I bought that wood at Gaydon's is where I bought it. I think I give away I don't know who won it, but I give away a blank. One of those and one of these, had them taped together if you want to try to make one of these. Sorry, I know I'm sure that Well, Jim bothering, get on, Danny. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean that up and I'm gonna shear scrape it. That's a Henry Taylor tool and it's a shear scraper. This has an obtuse angle on it. See that? That angle is greater than 90. So you know, you have to, man, this is a great shear scraper. It's curved on the sides, it's heavy. It's a great tool. Don't look like much, it's kind of short, but now when I do this, I'm finessing that. I'm not hogging wood with it. I'm doing it real easy. And I'm doing that to try to keep from tearing the grain. I don't want to tear the grain. I want it to be nice and smooth. It's got a little bit of wave to it. I could hear it vibrating. And this tool will work flat too. I'll round that over a little bit. At this point I would sand, it's got a little torn grain in it right there, but I would sand all of that out of there, okay, under normal circumstances. So that's pretty much, I'm done.
Great job.